Well, unfortunately, got an issue with my air compressor. Well, if you've been following my videos, you saw I picked up this compressor cheap on Marketplace because I just needed a larger one for in my garage. Unfortunately, it has failed. And what's happened is I was using it and I wasn't quite happy with the airflow that this thing has across it. So if I was going to be using it more than, maybe just filling it once, then I would turn this fan on. And I had this turned around. It wasn't facing this way, but I had it turned to where the fan was blowing on it just to give it some airflow. And I think that probably helped it, but what happened is I was using it and I realized it had been running quite a while. And so I came over here and it was not building pressure. It built up to about 60 PSI and that was it. And it had a lot of blow by coming out this little hole. And so that was kind of the end of it. Turned it off. And that time I did not have the fan on it. So I don't know if it got too hot or if I would almost guess that that's what happened, but I really wasn't doing a lot with it that would have caused it to run a lot. I don't know, but I think the rings are shot, either that or the reed valves are not holding pressure. So I think what we're gonna do, I cannot find parts for this thing. I've looked up the model number, I can't find parts. I'm sure this pump is probably used on other compressors, and I have searched and searched and searched. I can't find anything. So I think what we're gonna do is just kind of tear into it and hope that once we get into it, maybe we can find something generic to work. We could measure the piston, measure the rings, and maybe try to get a set of rings for it. Or if it needs reed valves, we could do something there. Since it had a lot of blow by, I'm thinking it's rings. I'm thinking it probably got too hot and, lost tension in the rings. So, or it could have some scoring. I don't know. But we're gonna try to rebuild it. And if we can, that's great. If not, I guess, it's the end of life for this one. Maybe we could find another pump that we could bolt up. I don't know. I'm just really not finding much. It's a direct mount to the motor. Motor works fine. If we could find another pump to bolt to the motor, maybe we could go that route. But I think, I don't know. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and just undo this here. That'll undo this hose, this line, so that then we can undo these Allen heads and lift the head off. And then that'll give us a view in the cylinders to see what it looks like. And then if we want to unbolt the cylinder, we can undo it looks pretty simple to get this thing apart. So I'm just gonna tear it down real quick and I'll bring y'all back and we'll see what we see. Well, this is different. So here's our head. You can see and I will say one of the head bolts was loose. I do not see, it does not look like it has a head gasket. Oh, there it is. It's just a thin metal head gasket. I don't see any issues with it though. One of them was loose and it was missing a lock washer. I don't know if the lock washer broke, but there we've got that. This one would have went, it is I guess it's our reed valve. That one would have went, one of them seals this side One of them seals the other side. So that's a problem. I'm surprised it worked at all. Huh. And are they the same? Yeah, they're the same. One just goes on this side and the other one goes on that side. And we can use the good one to try to measure and get one. I don't know if we should, that would kind of make sense of our failure, you know? I'm trying to think, let's see. That's on the exhaust side. Okay. So it would suck in, it would make compression, right? But it would suck it back. Through here. Trying to think if that would cause blow-by. See, there should be it would definitely cause it not to build much pressure. There is a check valve in the tank side, but it would have to fill up that extra volume here. I'm tempted to not tear it down any further and see what we can find. Because right now, I think we could reuse this gasket. It looks fine. I don't know what this is like. And if we don't have to tear any further into it, we know, let's see, does this come off? It does. But man, I don't really want to mess with that gasket. I think that looks like it would come apart, but what do we do? Maybe, let me get my light and maybe if I can see in there and see what it looks like as far as being scorched. Not scorched, scored. And maybe we could tell. Okay, using my light to look down in there, it looks okay. So I think we're not gonna dig any deeper. We're gonna try to find a replacement based on the measurements of this. And then we can put it back together. We know this is a problem, or well, not this one. We know the broken one is a problem. And so if we can just dig this deep and fix this, then we can tell the overall condition of the rest of it. And I mean, it's 4 bolts. We can dig deeper if we need to, but let's see what I can do to find some of these. We can make them. Some kind of spring steel, I'm sure, though. Make them out of a feeler gauge. All right, parts came in about $8 on Amazon. Grab these. They are reed plates, and they are just a hair too long, by that much. So, trusty tin snips, and just trim that off just a little bit, and we'll do the other one. I think I'm going to go ahead and just replace both of them. This one's looking a little on the rough side, and I just laid it over and used a Sharpie and marked the spot that was too long and cut it there. So it was a 2-pack. So I'm gonna take this one, cut it, and then I'm gonna take my sanding block. I'm gonna get something a little finer than 320, and I'm gonna go over the head. I cleaned it up with the 320, just a little bit, but we're gonna go with something finer and really kind of get it cleaned up. I feel like it's a little bit warped here in the center. You can see there's not as much of an outline of the gasket there, so it may have been bleeding off some air right there. And we'll do the head as well, or the block, or whatever you'll call it, the cylinder. You can see it's definitely got some heat bluing right there in the center, over here on the side too, but definitely right here in the center. And so I think it's just either this is slightly warped or the head. So we're just gonna sand it just a little bit. I know that's not ideal. I did gently pull this gasket off, and I'm just gonna kind of clean it up with a rag and some probably glass cleaner, or maybe some brake cleaner, either one, and get that cleaned up. Try to get that rust off of it. This is so thin that even that little bit of rust and stuff could throw us off a little bit. So let me get all that done, and then we'll get this thing back together. I'll clean this up about as good as I could get it. And that's just some WD-40 rag, with it on this rag, and just kind of brushing it with the Scotch-Brite. We've got our other reed plate cut, and there's our old one. And I'm gonna, oh, and I did some work on this. I ended up using 320, just a sanding block, and that looks pretty good. And I think we're gonna leave it at that. I did it until I could see the center sanding. I did the same thing over here. So that looks like a good surface to me. Just kept changing directions. And then this connection down in there doesn't look the best. So I'm gonna clean that up a little bit to make sure we got a good seal right here. And then we're gonna put it all together. I did pick up lock washer. We were short, it was missing one lock washer. Someone's been in here before us, so I picked up one for that. So I'm gonna assemble this all back together carefully using some white lithium grease to hold the plates in place so that they don't move, especially this top one, since it's on a angle, or since it'll be not on an angle, since it'll be upside down, we don't want it to fall out. So we'll put a dab of grease there and there, and hopefully that'll hold it in place. I'm gonna do it on the other side too, just to make sure it doesn't jump. It's not gonna hurt anything. So we'll do that real quick and get this thing assembled, and hopefully it works. All right, it's back together. I can already tell. A little bit of blow bar, but not like it was. Step back. It would only build about 60 psi before. Now we definitely got to fix this. I was worried about this connection. Yeah, that one's leaking too. All right. Okay. Well, we can, well, is it leaking? I assume it is. Look, I'll show you something. Okay. I thought the heat was making it do it, but all right. So these two connections are leaking. We got to deal with those. But, hey, we fixed it. So I'll do that, but not bad. $8 and we saved it. I thought I was gonna be buying me a compressor. So now I'm gonna get some compressor oil. We're gonna do an oil change on this thing. I don't know when it was last done, if it was ever done. So we'll do that, but I'm happy. It builds pressure now. Okay, so Teflon, took this fitting out, put Teflon tape here, and then just cleaned up both of these ends, the end that's on the hose here, and then the end that's on the fitting, and tighten this down. Hopefully that fixes our leak here and here. I'm not crazy about this fitting. It looks like they had some kind of like goopy stuff, and that goopy stuff was kind of all over the fitting, and so I just cleaned that off and put it back on. So we'll see if just a clean surface here will make it work. I don't know. Well, I don't think that that's leaking. I think that's just where the bubbles are pooling, and that I don't think is leaking, but it does look like our head gasket's leaking slightly. Yeah, I think it was leaking slightly right over there. But I don't know. I'll do some measurements. I think is our best option here. I'll do some measurements of this bolt spacing and see if I can maybe find a head gasket. You know, we did the best we could with that gasket, but you know, I was not the first one in here, so that thing has been reused a couple times. We cleaned up the surface the best we could, but you know, maybe we need to try to find a new gasket. That's about all I could do there. It was just barely leaking, but would like it not to leak, but at least we fixed this. We've made huge improvements because this was probably leaking pretty bad even prior to disassembly, because I didn't mess with this fitting, this connection right here. So I'm sure that that was already leaking. Head gasket may not have been. I'm gonna guess it probably was, because I think we've got a better surface now than we had prior. I think whoever took this apart before, you know, could have even had it apart for a while, and you know, it definitely looked like that gasket was put on rust. Either it was put on rust or it rusted while it was on, because there was definitely rust stuck to that gasket. I wouldn't have thought it would have done that, you know, if it was truly sealed off. I just wouldn't think it would rust. So we've definitely improved it. Like I said, I'm gonna measure this spacing, and then also I need to get some oil. I went to Harbor Freight and get some compressor oil, and they were out. So I'll get some, we'll do an oil change on it, and I'll look for a gasket. But I think that's gonna end it for this video. We've fixed the compressor. I thought We were gonna have to go a lot deeper in it than this. You know, I thought we were gonna be trying to find some rings for it, but I think we're good there. And we just needed reed plates. Well, I've got it back in place, and I torqued those down just a little bit more after this thing heat cycled, and sprayed it again. It doesn't appear to be leaking now, so I guess, yeah, maybe I just didn't have it tight enough, but I tightened it as much as I felt comfortable with, and I got a little bit more out of it, but I am not going any more than that. It looks like it's not leaking, so we're not gonna mess with it. I am gonna try to still keep an eye out for some kind of, try to figure out what model compressor this is. So if we end up having to put rings in it, or we end up needing gaskets for it, you know, we could get them. I can make a gasket if I needed to, but I'd like to try to find the model of this compressor. I cannot find anything by, you know, searching master power or the model number. It just doesn't seem like anybody has parts for it. There's just not much information on them. And unfortunately, that's what you get with, you know, a lot of the stuff like this. It's just kind of not a name brand, I guess. But I think Cooper Tools is kind of a name brand, maybe, or they used to be. Maybe they got bought out. You know, the name kind of got bought out. I don't know. But anyway, if you know any information on this compressor, where to get parts, you know, maybe it crosses to some other better known model, you know, that use this same compressor, let me know in the comments down below. So that's gonna do it for this video. We've repaired this thing. It seems to be working well now, probably better than it was when I got it originally. So for a total of about $8, we've given this thing more life. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more.